How to be financially average in New Zealand. This is an article that came out recently and it goes through averages of wages, house value, KiwiSaver, savings account, home loans, credit card debt. So let's get straight into it and have a look. So wages for people working full-time, the average weekly earnings including overtime was $1,612 in the year to June. The average per hour rate was $41.52. The public sector was being paid better than the private at $1,934 a week on average compared to $1,528. I've often said previously that you're statistically more likely to make six figures working in the public sector, so government or ratepayer cash. Don't know what that's about, but they seem to pay really well, and there are more jobs in that industry that seem to pay over six figures. Is that what you want to do? I don't know. Anyway, at $1,612 a week, that's about $83,800 a year, a little better than the UK's reported average salary of £36,000. I don't know why they're comparing it to the UK, but $83,800 an average wage for the year. It's quite a decent amount in this day and age, eh? And yes, my voice is a bit scratchy, but hey, it is what it is. We gotta roll on. And yes, I'm sitting in my Tesla charging my car whilst reading a laptop. What a fucking world we live in, eh? Anyway, house value. The average house is worth about $805,000. I think houses are massively overvalued in this country, and the Kiwi dream that you've been sold is at the root of a lot of the issues in this country. Did you really, like, when you grew up, did you grow up saying, I want to own a home? Like, that's my Kiwi dream. I don't know, but it's great marketing and they've sold it to so many people and that keeps the property Ponzi going. But hey, if that's your thing, that's your thing. I've got nothing against that. But I do think we want to think critically when it comes to finances and think, is that actually what I want from my life? And often when you ask people, okay, where did the Kiwi dream come from? They don't really know. They haven't really thought about that. KiwiSaver balance at 31 March this year, the average KiwiSaver balance was $33,500. That's up from less than $10,000 a decade ago. I think KiwiSaver might be started in 2007, maybe 7. Yeah, I think it's 17 years old roughly. So 33.5K. Is that going to be enough to retire on for most people? And all the time people are like, does that include people that have taken money out for their first time? Of course it does. This is an average so of all the data. So yes, people use that to save for their first time and then strip it all out and they lose the compounding and they've got to start from scratch again. But then they say, well, it's now compounding in my property and I'm on the ladder. Where does the ladder go? Does anyone actually know where the ladder goes? No, we don't ask critical questions like that either, do we? But anyway, KiwiSaver balance average $33,500. Savings account. The New Zealand Banking Association said the average savings account balance in June was $15,800. But the Retirement Commissioner research showed 50% of respondents had less than $5,000 in their savings account. Do you have more than $5,000 in your savings account? Do you have more than $15,800? Could you access that cash if you needed it? Good questions to ask ourselves. The Home Loan NZBA said the average home loan was $318,151. That's interesting. Doesn't seem that high, does it? That's probably obviously across the entire country. First, home buyers are taking on mortgages of just over $550,000 on average. Shit, that's quite a lot of money to borrow to then try and pay back, right? But of course, debt can often be inflated away as we create more money. So people can always make sense of borrowing a lot, because also I think we have people hate to pay rent in this country, despise it. We grow up to be taught not to do that. And if you are renting, just like I am, then you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all good. You're not a second-class citizen. And please don't feel like you're just renting. When people say, oh, you're just renting, it's buzzy. If someone comes around to your house like, oh, do you own this? You're like, nah, I rent it. Like, oh, okay. It's like we've created in society this, like, success is owning a property, a devaluing building that is depreciating and constantly needs repairing and things fixing. But that is what success is to a lot of people. But it's going up in value in people's minds because debt, there's more debt getting created over time and the value of money is decreasing, and so people are storing their wealth in property. But anyway, let's carry on. Average credit card debt. The average credit card balance across the country is $3,000 with a weighted average interest rate of 19.7% on balances accumulating interest. I read recently that 53% of credit cards are getting pinged for interest, so it's a lot higher than what I thought it was, because all the credit card influencers out there always tell me, I've never paid any interest. No, it's great. I get my reward points and I've never paid any fees. I've never spent more than I normally would by using my credit card. I completely game the system. So yeah, 19.7 and 10.5% across all balances. Oh, I see. So those that are paying interest, shit. Weighted average interest rate of 19.7% on balances accumulating interest and 10.5% across all balances. So, obviously not everybody will owe money on their credit card and they'll pay it off in time, but average balance is $3,000. Average credit score, 752. I've never ever checked mine. I wouldn't have a clue what mine is. Someone told me I'm privileged the other day because of that. I'm like, okay, cool, sweet. Now what? Does that help your situation get better? I don't know. But I've borrowed a shit ton of money in my life, consumer finance, dumb shit, and paid it back. And yeah, never really had a problem getting access to credit. So maybe I've been the perfect debt slave whilst I have had it. Stats NZ data shows a typical household spends on average just under $300 a week on food, of which $139.40 goes on general grocery items. Restaurant meals cost about $30 a week. Households also spend about $23 a week on alcoholic beverages on average. Shit, that's one espresso martini in the Viaduct in the 09. Clothing Stats NZ said the average household spends about $35 a week on clothes and $7.80 on footwear. It's random, mate. 7, 8, so probably like 8. So it's like $400 on footwear a year. A pair of Yeezys, you'd be blowing that out the bloody water, wouldn't you? I've never purchased a pair of those, but maybe some people would have. Rent, the median weekly, I wonder why they go to median, but anyway, the median weekly rent in New Zealand in the year to June was $568, according to the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment. That's a bit less than $640 a week. That Trade Me says is the median asking price across the country, but that may reflect new tenancies having higher rents than existing ones. What do you guys think of these averages? Let me know in the comments. Power bills, about $200 a month in the average electricity bill in New Zealand, but there can be a lot of variance within the according to the season, household use, probably size of the household, I would say, right? But yeah, a lot of averages there on the podcast and in Money Mail, which if you want to receive Money Mail, it goes out every Friday at 9 a.m. or around that time. You can sign up. There'll be a link below to sign up or jump on the Keep the Change website. But in the podcast as well, we quite often talk about, be careful comparing yourself to averages, because maybe you're not average and you're not an average person, and that's okay. But this is a country where we like to hold people down and not talk like that. And maybe you're capable of a lot more, and that's all good too. So be careful if you're not an average person aiming for averages or setting those as the goals that you have. Why not take them, times them by 10 and think a lot bigger? Sometimes what I will do is I will take the KiwiSaver balance, for instance, and I'll think what's in the top 1% of balances? What does that look like? Can I aim for that? And what are they doing? And what do I need to be thinking about in order to do that? But that's just, I guess, a little bit of a different framework to be thinking about some of these things. Savings accounts, 15,800. That feels like quite a lot of money, because I think a lot of people will, if they've got a mortgage, for instance, they will just be, trying to clear their debt as fast as they can, and they use their house as a overdraft rather than having a savings account. But yeah, the Retirement Commissioner's data was different. 50% of respondents had less than $5,000 in their savings accounts. A decent emergency will wipe someone out, right? Pretty quickly, even like a pet bill or a pet incident or something like that, with the cost of things these days, or vehicles and whatnot. Not Teslas though, absolute great pieces of machinery, apparently. So yeah, that is an average credit card debt, 3,000. I thought maybe that was quite low. I thought, I don't know how to interpret that. The average credit card balance. So I wonder if that's what's outstanding, or if that is like what people can have access to. But anyway, there's some averages for you there, and shout out to Susan Edmonds, who's the money correspondent at RNZ, putting this article together, How to Be Financially Average. Key takeaway from me, if you're not an average person, or you don't aspire to be average, that's completely fucking cool. That's amazing. That's good. That's probably what we need more of in this country. Then please do not set average as your goals, think bigger than that and think about what you're actually capable of, and then go and have a look at what some of these outliers are doing and think, okay, what are they doing that I could implement into my life? Keep going hard out there, and we'll see you next time.